questions I get asked all the time is, how did I learn to make soap and start my soap business? If you've been following me for any amount of time, you know I love to read books. I actually read 0 fiction books. Everything I read is a self-help business or soap book. So in this video, I'm going to share with you guys my top 5 books I think you need to read, no questions asked, if you are going to start a soap or handmade cosmetics type business. Hi, my name's Caitlin. If you're new here, I own a handmade soap and cosmetics business that I'm about to scale up into a huge beauty brand, and so many of you have been along the journey with me. Thank you so much for watching, but if you're new, make sure you subscribe because I have a lot of new stuff coming out about how I'm growing my business from a handmade business all the way up into a huge beauty brand with massive distribution. Before we jump into the books, I am so excited to announce that this video is being sponsored by Skillshare. I absolutely love the Skillshare platform. I have used it for 3 years now to help me grow and scale my business. I recently just took a class on how to use Adobe Illustrator. It was a long class. The reason why I wanted to make a new logo for my new rebrand, I had reached out to some advertising companies and the quotes they gave me were insane. So I figured I could go to Skillshare and find a class that fit my needs to learn Adobe Illustrator, and they did not disappoint. I was able to take 2 classes, very intense classes, on how to use Adobe Illustrator, and the result of it is my new logo, which I'm so excited to share with you guys. I'm going to put it right here for you. I haven't shown anybody else what my logo looks like yet, so you're getting the first sneak peek, but I created this 100% on my own thanks to the classes I took through Skillshare. There are so many topics that they cover. Beyond things like different software programs, you could actually learn to successfully launch an Etsy store. So if you are new and trying to figure out where you want to put your business, you can go to Skillshare and take a ton of classes on how to do an Etsy store, how to do a Shopify store. My favorite one right now is the Etsy launch. It's how to open an Etsy shop like a professional seller. This is a great opportunity if you are trying to create side income or do a side hustle, or you don't have time to build out an entire Shopify store. You can take this class and get all the inside information on Etsy, and within a few hours have your products up and ready to sell. First 1,000 people to use this link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. The link is going to be down in the description box below, and go ahead and sign up. Even if you're not sure there's a class for you yet, you get a whole month. There's so much that you can take in a month's time. You're gonna find benefit. You're gonna want to keep staying on no matter what, but it's a great opportunity for you guys to test out Skillshare and see if there isn't a class that's gonna help you grow and scale your business. So I'm gonna share with you my 5 best resources. So the first one is going to be, I actually don't have it. I have most of the books with me, but the first 2 books I have are pure soap making books, and they're actually at my studio. I don't work in my house anymore. I have a studio, and of course left them there on the day I'm filming this video. My 2 favorite soap making books, and I own a lot, are from the same author, Anne-Marie Fayola. She is the founder of Brambleberry. If you've done any research on soap, you have definitely come across Brambleberry. I love that company. I have loved them since the beginning. I think they have a really great quality about them. Yes, they're a little bit more expensive in certain cases, but trust me, it's worth it. So her 2 books, the first one that I ever read, and is still my favorite, is Pure Soap Making. This book is geared 100% towards cold process soap making and using natural oils and butters and natural colorants like oxides, so no micas, no FD&C colorants. If your big interest and your big push is natural soap making, this book is going to be your guide. What I also love about this book is they give you tons of different design options. So it's not just making the soap, coloring it one color and calling it a day. The creativity of this book is huge, and you can really take it and make your own spin on different things. She even shows you how to use things like rosé and beer in your soaps if you want to. So highly recommend this book if you are just interested in making bar soaps, specifically cold process, which is a natural version of bar soaps in comparison to melt and pour soaps. That's a whole different thing. This is strictly for people who are interested in cold process soap, and it was my very first book I read, and I still go back and reference it, i.e. why it's at my studio right now. The second book is also by Anne-Marie, but I think it's a great companion. So using these two books together to really build your knowledge and understanding of how soap works, but also how to get creative and use different colors and things like that. Her second book actually came out before Pure Soap Making. This one is called Soap Crafting. This book will also go into different things that are not just strictly natural, if that makes sense. So for me, for instance, I use fragrance oils and mica, and I'm okay with using those things. But if you are super clean, natural, I think you only need the Pure Soap Making book. So it just depends on what you are going after as far as your brand goes. So those two books are sort of the two in my collection of making products. Now we go into a little bit more serious stuff, but if you're gonna start a business, you need to do the serious stuff. I know it's not fun, I know it's not as sexy, but it has to be done. So the first book that I'm gonna give you guys, and you may not know this one even if you've been in the industry for a while, but it is imperative that you get this book. It is called Soap and Cosmetic Labeling. It is by Marie Gale. I've also met her at the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild conference that I went to back in 2019, I think. We haven't had one because of COVID. So anyway, this book, you have to get this because if you are going to sell any products, you need to make sure that they are labeled correctly, packaged correctly, that your ingredients labels are correct. It can be very confusing, inky names versus basic general names. This book is going to be your guide. She goes through everything. So let's say you have a bottle inside of a box. There's some different things going on with that you have to put on the outside. Placement of net weight and ounces is really important. And then if you are doing cold processed soap, there's a whole other world around that where you don't have to divulge as much information. So this book is just a lifesaver. I go back and reference it anytime I make a new product just to be sure that I'm doing everything properly. I know now that I'm taking that course with IPCS way more than this, but if you're just starting out, this book will give you all the information you need. Also, I'm pretty sure Marie does offer a service herself to go through your ingredients. So if you are still a little apprehensive or you can't get your hands on the book and you want someone's professional advice to just look at your products before you do packaging and all of that, you can actually hire Marie. I'm pretty sure, I think it's pretty reasonable for what she does. Love this book. I love her so much. So that the fourth book is another book of hers. This is great even if you don't make soap and cosmetics. Let's say you make food products or anything that you have to be very careful about your manufacturing from a cleanliness standpoint, which should probably be everything, but some industries aren't as serious as ours. But this book, Good Manufacturing Practices, goes into how you basically should set up your studio, how you should set up your space, what's important, what are good manufacturing practices, how you set up things like a checklist to make sure that you're going through all the cleaning procedures so that you have documentation on that. Because let's say that you actually get audited or somebody comes to actually check what you're doing with your business, you need to make sure that you have all of that paperwork so that they can say, yes, this person is operating under good manufacturing practices. If they walk in and you guys don't have a checklist and you're not cleaning regularly and you're not doing all of those things, yet you're making products that could be contaminated, that could have bacteria in them, anything that you're doing, you need to make sure at the end of the day that your products are safe for consumers. This book is going to give you all of that guidelines. It can be really overwhelming. It was really overwhelming when I first read this and started to put those practices into place, but you have to start somewhere. And I love that this is geared more towards soap and cosmetics because it sort of helped me sort of understand where to start and what to do in my own space. But this is a lifesaver, an essential book if you are going to start a soap and cosmetics business. So the last one, and this was the hardest one because like I told you in the beginning of the video, I absolutely love reading business books. So it was very hard to only pick one true business book for this list. But if you are wanting to run a successful soap business, you gotta start with Building a Brand Story. I know most people have heard of this book. I genuinely believe it is great. I love it because of the structure. It is very structured in that you can see how you fill in, you know, steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to build your brand story. The reason why I think this is the most important one, because I see a lot of people start a soap business and they are doing one of two things. They are either copying someone directly, which isn't great. It's also like, that's been done before, and being in a soap business, it's part of it is being super creative. Part of it is infusing who you are into your brand. So directly copying somebody else, like, they're already doing it. It's not a great foundation for a successful business. So there's that. And then there are people who are just making to make. And if that's why you're starting and you don't want to grow this massive business, that's okay. You don't have to build a business that is in hundreds of specialty stores or going into big retail chains. You can build a business that is super successful where you sell at your local farmers markets. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I do find people sometimes get a little wild and crazy with it, and then their brand isn't really cohesive. And that sometimes is a result of why they may struggle in selling a lot of their products. So if you have a brand story, which this book will walk you through all those steps, if you have a brand story, it's a lot of things in your life as a business owner easier. It helps when you're trying to come up with posts for social media because you've already developed your brand story, what message you're trying to send. So when you go and plan your social media for the week, you already know what you're trying to tell your customer. You're not sitting down for the first time with a fresh mind and starting from scratch every single week. You know the message you're trying to share with people to promote your products. And the other element of all of this is we tend to talk about ourselves, especially in this handmade space where we are the probably sole employee, at least for a while. We tend to talk about ourselves. I see a lot of people posting, you know, soap, and then here's what I had for dinner, or different personal things. And it's okay to get a little personal, but what I love about this book is it takes the focus off of you and it puts it completely on the customer. When we're hearing marketing materials and they're being thrown at us constantly, we want to know what that product is going to do for us. We want to know what that business or brand stands for to see if it aligns with what we want for ourselves and the world. So this book helps you craft all of that in a very easy to understand and organized way that I love. It's not a pie in the sky, like foofy book. This book is very regimented, and there are exercises and steps that you can do throughout the whole thing to really hone in on your message. And so I think these 5 books all combined would help you to figure out what your brand is, what your brand mission is. It will also give you great advice and information on how to make soap, and please make sure you practice making soap before you just open a business on a whim. I definitely think I made soap for 6 to 8 months and made quite a few batches before I ever even thought of selling it. So just make sure you do that work in the foundation. I know it can be hard because you might want to jumpstart and you want to get going, but trust me, building that foundation and knowledge of making product and making good product will benefit you in the long run. I've seen a lot of people skip steps and do things too quickly, which results in bad product and ultimately not a successful business. So do your work, do your homework, put in the hours in the beginning. It will pay off in the end. And then the other 2 books by Marie Gale are fantastic resources to make sure you are doing everything proper when it comes to legal requirements, labeling, and good manufacturing practices. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. I do have a ton more books on my website. I'll leave the link to my website down below. I review every book I read that you can see there if it's worth reading or not. So I continue to add to that list, and you can check those other ones out there. But I will catch you guys in the next video.